Hi there, welcome to another practice with me, Anne. Today our focus is going to be on your feet. It's a full, well-rounded practice, so the whole body will benefit, but with a focus on our feet. And think about all the terrible things we do to our feet, wearing shoes that don't fit right, terrible posture, just all kinds of things. Even just our sitting culture, it definitely affects our feet. If we have stuff going on our feet, it can affect other parts of our body as well. So today the props you'll need are, if you have blocks, 1 or 2 blocks. If you don't, no worries, we can work around that. And then some sort of blanket, whether it's a towel or a blanket, something that can fold, mostly for you to sit on, but also for you to use as a pillow. So make sure that you have at least that, something like that to support you. Always a reminder to honor your body today. Just because something was okay yesterday doesn't mean it is okay. So I do give modifications for a lot of things, but if it doesn't feel right, please honor your body and don't do it. I don't want you to hurt yourself. You need to take care of yourself. I'm gonna move back and we're gonna get started. Typically, I start class in constructive rest, lying down, which you're welcome to do. I'm gonna stay seated because we'll start that way after our breath and meditation. But if you really need to lie down for a couple of minutes, please do that. So I'm going to come on back. I'm going to bring my other block with me. And you're welcome, if you do sit, you're welcome to sit in any way that's comfortable. If cross-legged is not comfortable, you can have your knees bent and your feet on your mat. You could extend your legs out long. But make sure that as you sit on your blanket, that you're sitting right on the edge. That allows your pelvis to move forward and for you to have a long spine. So you can be really tall, you can be long, you can sit well. If you choose to lie down, make sure that you feel supported. If you lie down, have your knees bent and the soles of your feet connecting with your mat. You can close your eyes or soften your gaze. And just take a moment to notice, to feel, to really get into your body, onto your mat. Being in this moment. Noticing any distractions. As you inhale, you notice the distraction, whether it's your thoughts, the noise in the room, outside of the room. Me coughing. And when you exhale, you release it. You let it float away, you let it go. And it'll come back, and you do the same thing. That's our practice. That's really what meditation is about. It's not really about clearing the mind because our minds think, but to really just be in this moment. What's happening right now? Start to deepen your breath. Taking a nice deep inhale and release that exhale. Start to open your eyes. If you're lying down, make your way up into a seat. Make sure you support yourself. So I mentioned before class started that we're working on our feet today. So whatever foot is forward, and if you're sitting another way, you just pick a foot. We're going to work on both. You're just going to take your foot and you're going to look at it. You can look at the top of your foot, the bottom of your foot. Just notice. So maybe your feet are dirty. Maybe there's a scar or a birthmark that you've never noticed before. Depending on where you live, I think you all know, I'm in Tucson, Arizona, and it's hot here. And so my feet get really dried out. So you might notice maybe your feet are dry or there's calluses, whatever you notice. It's no judgment. And then you can start to massage your foot. If there's a spot that could use some extra attention, you're welcome to stay there, or you can move along your foot, your toes, whatever feels good here. When I was teaching in Portland, one of my yoga students told me that she massages her feet every day because she had serious foot issues. And it's something that we should probably do, but we don't. We really neglect our feet. So maybe this is something you do before you go to bed. A lot of times I put lotion on my feet before I go to bed, so I'll give myself a little foot massage. Okay, so opposite hand to opposite foot. You're going to interlace your fingers between your toes. Pinky to pinky can be a little much. You also have the option to just put your hand right over your foot. I'm holding my foot up just so that you can see a little bit better. But if it's okay, you'll interlace, and it can be intense, just no pain. And then you're going to circle your toes in one direction. And then you'll circle your toes in the other direction. Nice. All right. Let's bring the other foot forward. Take a look at it first. Examine. So if you've taken class with me before and done feet before, you might know this answer. But do you know how many bones are in one foot? I know you can yell out at your computer or your TV or your phone. And then start to give yourself a massage. So we have 26 bones in each foot. 52 bones, if my math is correct. I was a journalism major, so it could be wrong. And we have 206 bones in our adult grown bodies. So that means that 25% of our bones are in our feet alone. Crazy, right? And think about what you do to your feet. All right, and then when you're done massaging, you'll take opposite hand to opposite foot. And this foot's different, so maybe it's going to need different care. If it's okay to interlace, you will. If not, you just put your hand on top of your toes, and then you'll circle in one direction. Awesome. And circle in the other direction. Awesome. Yeah, oh, that feels good. Okay. And then come to seated. So make sure that your non-habitual foot or leg is in front if you are sitting cross-legged. If you're not, then just sit however you're sitting, but sit well, sit tall. Bring your arms down by your side. When you inhale, reach your arms up. And when you exhale, bring your arms down. Do that 2 more times. Inhale up. And you go to your own breath. Exhale down. 1 more. Inhale up. Exhale down. And then bring the soles of your feet onto your mat. Your hands can be by your side, or you can even lean back a little bit. And then you're going to keep your heels on your mat, but lift your toes up off the mat. And then you're going to see if you can spread your toes as much as you can and then scrunch them. Some of the stuff we're going to do today, keep doing that, may give you foot cramps. So if you need to stop, if you need to massage your feet, whatever you need to do. So as you're spreading, really, like my right foot spreads so much better than my left. I've been working on this for years. I used to wear what I call beautiful but stupid shoes for a long time. So I think high heels definitely did terrible things to my feet. So they're still recovering from that. Do that 1 more time. Awesome. Bring your feet back down to your mat. Let's make our way onto our backs in constructive rest. Padding for your head. Bend your knees, bring your feet to your mat. And as you come here, make sure that if you do have support under your head, it's more under the base of your skull than your neck, just to keep a little clearance for your neck. And we're going to come into a pelvic tilt. So in a moment, I'll sit up because this is very subtle. When we're lying down, you may not actually see my body moving. It's like cat-cow, but on your back. So when you exhale, you're going to start to spread your low back onto your mat, hollowing out your belly. And then when you inhale, you're going to arch your back, opening your chest up. So you go back and forth to your own breath. And as you move, try to keep all 4 corners of your feet connected to your mat, but just notice how the movement adjusts how your feet are connecting with your mat. So I'm just going to sit tall like this. So as I exhale, I round and hollow out my belly. And as I inhale, I arch my back. So you can think about as you come into the exhale, your tail comes under your body. As you inhale, you reach your tail up. And it seems weird because you're lying on your back, and so it seems like it's the opposite. So do that movement a couple more times. And then come back to what feels like a neutral spine for you. Just take a moment here. Stay in your constructive rest. Your arms can be wherever is comfortable. And then with your toes, you're going to try to grab your mat with your toes and release. And depending on your mat, do that a couple more times. Depending on your mat, you might actually be able to do it. If you have a really thick mat, you probably can't. The goal is not to actually do it. You're just working toward it. So strengthening your toes. One more time. And release and come back to your constructive rest. And then hug your knees into your chest. And you're going to extend your legs up toward the ceiling. And then depending on your arms and shoulders, you can either reach your arms up toward the ceiling or arms up by your ears. I prefer up toward the ceiling or upside down, downward facing dog. And then here you can point and flex. You could circle your ankles. You could spread your toes and scrunch them, and your hands can join as well. Maybe you want to be a dog that's walking. So you're a little prancy dog or you're a big dog, whatever you want to be here. Have fun, use your imagination. It's okay to play. Awesome. And then bring your knees back into your chest and you're welcome to rock. Stay still, make any other movement. That could be with your feet, with your toes, your ankles. And then make your way over to one side, coming up to seated just for a moment to set up for our next pose. So we're going to be on our knees. If you'd like padding, get your towel or your blanket, put that in the middle of your mat. So we're going to start in tabletop for just a moment. And you're going to curl your toes under. So we're going to do something where we stretch our feet. And depending on how tight your feet are, you're going to decide the best spot for you to be. It's okay. You don't need to be like a rock star for this. You're a rock star just for doing yoga. So remember that. So here, this might be really intense for you and you stay here. So this is like level 1. And then I'm actually going to go to level 4 next. So this is the most intense. So maybe watch before you decide to do. So sitting back, stretching my feet. My pinky toes don't really reach, so I try to adjust them. This can be pretty intense. So you have an option to come here. This is 3. Actually, this is more like 2. You also have the option, this might be too intense, but maybe that's not giving you enough of a stretch. So you can bring your hands forward. So you can play with all of those options. I'll go back through them. You can be more in a tabletop. You can sit back on your heels, but your spine is tall. You can come up that you're standing on your knees, or you could be sitting back on your heels, but have your hands forward, and that takes some of the pressure off of your feet. So decide where you want to be. It doesn't matter. The best spot for you is where you should be. And then breathe. Make sure that this feels okay. It should be probably a little intense, but don't overdo it. So notice how your breath is, and that'll tell you if you're doing too much, if you need to back out, if you need to try something different. All right. So come back up into the tall kneeling position. And we're going to come up to standing. So depending on you, for your body, you may need to move in a different way to come on up to standing. I'm going to move my blanket out of the way for now. When I come up to standing, I actually come off of my mat so that you can see me better, but you're welcome to stay on your mat. I just do this so that you can see my body. So that the top of my head is not cut off by the camera. So coming into your Tadasana, you may have to adjust yourself on your mat depending on how you're facing whatever device you're using to watch this yoga video. So coming into Tadasana, mountain pose, starting with your feet about hip distance apart. So you feel around for the bony protrusions, and if you could draw a line down your leg, the line would go right through the middle of your ankles, and that's hip distance apart. So check in. If you don't quite feel grounded and rooted, step your feet wider or step your feet closer. So that's our base to get started. And you want to feel grounded and rooted. These are the roots of your body. They're so important. And then we're going to rock forward and back and side to side. So just kind of feeling where maybe you don't feel supported, where you don't feel like all 4 corners of your feet are touching your mat. And then come back to what feels like center. So you feel like the front of your foot, your heel, The outer edges and the inner edges are pretty even on your mat. When you feel that, you might notice that your core kicks on, your shoulders may be a little bit more above your hips. Check in with your head and neck. We like to lean forward. So see if you can have everything in alignment. And that affects our feet as well, right? So if we're more forward, that puts different pressure on our feet, and they have to work harder to keep us more balanced, more upright, from tripping, from falling, all of that. All right, and then you're gonna lift all your toes up like fingers. Did you know that your toes are supposed to function like your fingers separately? Spread them as much as you can, and then see if you can put your big toe and your pinky toe down on the mat, but keep the other toes up. Can you do it? Yell out at the camera, I'm yelling at the camera. You yell at your computer, your TV, your phone, if you can do it. It's okay if you can't. I cannot do it no matter how hard I try, nothing happens. And then set all of your toes back down on your mat. And you'll feel even a bigger base of your feet connecting with your mat, with the earth. It's pretty amazing for that to happen. And you're in your Tadasana again. And then from here, I'm gonna come back to my mat. From your Tadasana, you're gonna make your way into Uttanasana, or standing forward fold. If you have your blocks easily available, if you don't, you can get them. If you don't have blocks, no worries, we use our own body. So coming into where all four corners are grounded and rooted, hinge at your hip creases. So if you don't have blocks, or you know there's no way you can reach the ground because of this, or because the only way you can is if you hunch forward, then keep your hands at your hips. You can have your hands at your thighs. You also have the option to bend your knees, but don't let your knees come too far forward. So you kind of shift back, and your forearms can come to your thighs. If you have blocks, you could use your blocks, keeping your spine long, and then perhaps you start to come down a little bit more. So you decide the best place for you. The goal is to have a long spine that keeps your body safe. So from your forward fold, I'm going to move my blocks out of the way. From your forward fold, you're going to come into a downward facing dog. For some of you, that means coming down to a tabletop, then stepping your hands forward, curling your toes under and lifting your knees up off the mat. For others of you, it'll be from your forward fold, walking your hands forward, stepping your feet back. So find the best way for you. Long spine here, lengthen your spine. Pressing through all your fingers, the palms of your hands, the knuckles. You can bend your knees a little or a lot. So you want to lift your sit bones up toward the ceiling and shift your butt, hip, and thighs toward whatever is behind you. And then come onto your tiptoes. And it doesn't matter if your heels don't touch, but reach your heels, ground them down toward the mat, even if they don't touch. And then do it again. Lift coming up onto your tiptoes and ground. Keeping the length in your spine. One more time, lift and ground. Nice. You can always bring your knees down to the mat early. And then come back down to the mat into a tabletop. I'm gonna move again so that you can see me better, but we're gonna transition into a lunge. So if you want padding for your knees, get that. If you have your blocks, get your blocks. If you don't, we're going to use our own body. I'll show you how to do that. Step your right foot forward to come into your lunge. So if you don't have blocks, have your hand on your thigh. If you have a stool or a piece of furniture nearby, that could work as well. But your body can help you also to come into this pose. So make sure that your knee is right above your ankle, your toes are spread wide. Your back foot, the toes can be curled under, or you can have the top of your foot on your mat, pressing your toenails into your mat. So try both. Even if you normally do it one way or the other, just try it. See what it's like to have your toes curled under. And then with your foot flat on your mat, press into your foot and notice how that affects your body. For me, it helps to create a little more of a lift. My front thigh is much more active and I'm more grounded in my back foot. Pretty amazing. Awesome. All right, come back to your tabletop. You can stay in a tabletop and do some cat-cow, some wiggling. You could extend that leg that just was in the lunge and press through your heel. You could lift it up. You could come into a downward dog. So you decide where you're going to go from here for the next breath or two. From here, come back down into your tabletop if you're not already, and step your left foot forward to come into a lunge on this side. Get yourself set up, check in with your alignment, the spread of your toes, whether your hands are on your thigh, blocks, or something else. Pressing through all four corners, and then test out the back foot. Test out with the toes curled under. I usually have my toes curled under because I feel like it creates a little more stability for me. A friend of mine, we talked about this once, another yoga teacher, and she felt like that helped to keep you safer, your knees safer, so that's something to consider. But then also try with your foot pressing into the mat, the very top of your foot pressing into your mat. And press it a little more and see how that affects your body, your front hip, your front foot, your back foot, your back hip. Awesome. All right. So step that foot back. Move your blocks to the side, and you can stay in your tabletop. Come into a downward facing dog. I'm going to come into a downward facing dog, but if that's too much for you, then you do what's best for you. And maybe that's a child's pose. You're welcome to come up on your tiptoes and ground through your heels. When you're in your dog, you want to make sure your ears are in between your upper arms. You're looking at your feet. So if you're looking at your knees, your head is too far. You can even hear my voice change. If you're looking at the middle of your mat, your head is too high. And definitely if you're looking at your hands, way too high. So find where it's a natural spot. So basically your neck is a continuation of your spine, and then your head's just on top. Bring your knees down to your mat, and you're going to make your way all the way onto your belly. Stack your palms, and you can rest your forehead, your chin, your cheek on your mat. This is crocodile. This is a teeny tiny baby back bend, and you're welcome to stay here. If your body, if your back feel like you can do a little more, I don't ever really teach ginormous back bends. You can always come out of this or do a baby cobra. If you're ready to set up, bring your hands right under your shoulders. Your toes are not curled under, so make sure, like we were doing in the lunge, we're pressing the tops of your toenails into the mat. So really have that base with your feet, the tops of your toenails, the tops of your foot, of each foot, and pressing your knees into your mat. It's difficult to do, you just do your best. And that's going to help you to lift your belly towards your spine. Move your shoulders about an inch toward your ears and then up toward the ceiling. And when you inhale, peel your chest up off the mat. You can just come up like an inch. You can come higher. Make sure that your chin's not jutting forward. You keep your neck long on all four sides. Your neck is a continuation of your spine in almost every yoga pose we practice. Next exhale, come on down. Rest the best way for you. You can wiggle out your hips. You can bend your knees and do some windshield wipering. If you have one more cobra in you, you're welcome to set up with your hands under your shoulders, your elbows by your sides. So you want to make sure that your elbows are off your mat like cricket legs. Start with that base of your feet, your knees, your belly. Shoulder blades down onto your rib cage, and when you're ready, peel up. Keeping your neck long, keeping your breath flowing. So think about really opening your heart. Next exhale, come on down, rest the best way for you. Again, you could wiggle out your hips or do some windshield wipering. You're welcome to stay in your version of crocodile, or you can come back into a child's pose. So you make your way back into a tabletop, and then you decide how wide your knees are, your big toes touch or come close together. You sit back on your heels, drape your torso over your thighs, and bring your forehead down toward the mat. If your forehead doesn't reach, You can use a block or your blanket or towel under your head. You could stack your palms. You could stack fists. You could just be on your forearms and keep your head long or your neck long, so don't drop it or hold it up. So again, the idea of continuation of your spine. Your neck is part of your spine, even though it works independently from it. All right, wherever you are, you're going to make your way back up. We're going to come back up to standing. So if you'd like to transition to one more downward facing dog, come into a forward fold, you're welcome to do that. I'm not going to teach that. So if you know it and you're comfortable with it, you're welcome to do that. Again, I'm going to step off my mat just so you can see me better. Coming back into Tadasana, our mountain pose. So do the adjustments you need to do to feel like you're standing tall and long. And then we're going to come into what's called Utkatasana chair pose. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see my body. You're going to start to bend your knees. So it's like that, almost like that forward fold I taught earlier. So your knees are going to bend, but you don't want them to go forward of your heels. So you need to move your butt back like you're going to sit in a chair. And then you have to be even in your pelvis. So no tucking or tilting here. So you're lifting your belly up towards your heart and you're lengthening your tailbone. And then you'll bring your hands at heart center. And at any time you need to stand up for a moment to give your legs a break, you do. Keep breathing. We're going to come into a twist. So you're going to bring your right hand on the outside of your left knee, your other hand's your hip. And you're going to start the twist from your belly button. But you're also going to think about your right ribs turning to come into this twist. So it's low belly, upper belly, chest, and shoulders. And then check your knees. So as you turn away from your right knee, it's very likely going to move forward. They need to stay even. So imagine you've got a block between your legs and you're squeezing your knees into your blocks, and then you're trying to move your thighs away from each other. But nothing should actually move. It's an energetic movement. And then come back to center, hands at heart center, and we'll twist to the right. So you bring your left hand on the outside of your right knee, your other hand to your hip, thinking about your belly button, moving your left ribs over to turn into your twist. Come back to center, hands at heart center. One more round of breath. Stand on up. Whew. You can give it a shake. Awesome. All right, we're going to come into something I call cactus air dancer. It is balance. I find for myself that having my feet, my knees, my thighs, my ankles all together helps me to feel more balanced, to feel a lift. You may feel differently and want to move your feet farther apart, up to you. If you cannot do deep squats, you'll come into a higher squat and have your hands on your thighs. The only difference is you'll have to lift your heels up in a moment. Otherwise, come on down. Your heels will come up off the mat, and that's a good thing. We want that to happen. So you might need to steady yourself with your hands in front of you or out to the side, perhaps your hands on your thighs. So feel the lift of your belly, and then bring your arms into cactus arms. And you're going to start to stand up. You're going to try to keep your heels up. If they fall, just lift them back up. Whew. And then you're going to come into a twist, so start to open to your right. Keep breathing. Come back to center, and go to the left. Come back to center and release. Give it a good shake. So you know those things at car dealerships that are like, that's what we're doing. Those things are called air dancers, and one of my students added the cactus since we do cactus arms. All right, so decide, is it better for your feet? I don't think your feet should be this far apart, but maybe they're not right next to each other. Come on down, let's do that again. One more time. So establish that connection, feel the lift. Your cactus arms, come on up. Ooh. Standing tall as much as you can. This time, let's turn to the left first. So a little bit of a twist. This is a little bit harder too because it's harder to lock your gaze, but you can still do it. We're not moving quickly. Come back to center and then twist to the right. Come back to center and release and give it a good shake. Awesome. All right, we're going to come back and have a seat on the mat. I'm going to sit sideways because I think that'll be easier for you to see. Sit on your blanket. Extend your legs out long. Your blanket or your towel. And have your feet nice and active. And then your hands can be to the side or behind you. Whatever works for you. Because we're just going to be working on our feet, but we still want to be tall and long. So you're flexing your feet here. If this causes sciatica or any other issues, you can press more through the ball of your foot, or you don't have to be quite as active. So pressing through all four corners if that's okay, and then point your toes like a ballerina. And then you're going to keep your feet pointed, but bring your toes back like Barbie toes. And then flex again. So here we are flexing, then we'll point, and we'll floint. Nice. And then do it again. Flex, point, and floint. One more time. Come to flex, point, floint, and back to flex. Awesome. And maybe you want to do a little windshield wipering. Feet, ankles, toes. And you're going to make your way back onto your mat. So have your support close by for your head, but for this next thing, we're not going to use support under our head. Come back to constructive rest. With your knees bent, soles of your feet on your mat. We're going to come into a pose called arch pose. So it's in between the pelvic tilt like we did earlier and a bridge pose if you're familiar with bridge pose. But we don't lift very high. We don't lift as high as a bridge pose. So you check in that your feet, all four corners are pressed. Your knees are in the same direction as your feet. You can imagine you've got a block between your thighs because you don't want your legs going in or out. They're nice and strong here. Press all four corners of your feet into your mat. When you inhale, start to lift up. So you're just lifting your hips up, maybe a little bit of your back, but not coming very high. And we don't have support under our head. It's probably okay with arch. It's not okay with bridge. We want to keep the natural curve of our neck. But I taught it once with the blanket and I just didn't like it, so I prefer without. And then on your exhale, come down. And you might notice, like, I need to adjust a little bit. My spine starts to get a little longer. Let's do that one more time. Press through all four corners. Your next inhale, a slight lift. Imagine that you're pressing your thighs into that imaginary block, moving your knees toward your feet. It's going to help to create your lift. If this is too much for you, you can always just do the pelvic tilt or just stay where you are. Next exhale, come down. Make an adjustment here. You can bring your blanket to be under your head, base of your skull more than on your neck. And then let's step our feet wide as your mat. Let's do some windshield wiping. So when you exhale, your knees will go to one side. And when you inhale, they'll come up tall. When you exhale, they'll go to the other side. Awesome. Do that a couple more times, moving to your own breath. Notice if you're just kind of flapping, if you're not moving to your breath. See if you can really move with intention. And as you move, your feet move. So notice when all four corners of both feet are pressing into the mat. And then notice that you're on the edge. You're like doing wheelies here, right? If your feet were cars, when we press through all four corners, all four tires are even on your mat. But then when we do this, we're on two wheels on one side, two wheels on the other. Last round. Once you're complete, come back to constructive rest. And we're going to come into our Shavasana, our final relaxation pose. So for my videos, I only do probably a couple of minutes for Shavasana. If you want to do longer, you're welcome to set yourself up in the most comfortable way. You can set your phone timer for 5, 10, 15 minutes. 2 minutes is better than nothing, but the longer the Shavasana, the better for sure. So you can pause and do your own Shavasana and then join in again, or you have the option to do the shorter Shavasana with me. So you could stay in constructive rest. You could extend your legs out long. If you have another towel or blanket or pillows, you could put those under your knees. You definitely relax your body. You don't want to touch anything extraneous. You could have your feet and legs as wide as your mat. I prefer to have my feet as wide as my mat, but with my knees bent, and then my knees supporting each other. I have low back issues, so sometimes lying flat on a floor on a mat is not the most comfortable. Close your eyes or soften your gaze and have your hands and arms wherever is comfortable for you. Bring your attention back to your breath, noticing how your natural cycle of breath is now compared to when we first started our practice together. The next breath you take in, make it deeper and fuller. And let that exhale out. Inhale in again. And release. One more time. And start to move outer extremities first, so your fingers, your toes, your feet, your hands, your wrists, your ankles. And of course, depending on where you are, you can stretch, you can hug your knees in. Whatever would feel good for the next couple of breaths here. Maybe letting out a yawn. That's the best sound in yoga, yawning. Yawning and sighing. When you feel ready, make your way over to one side. Pause there for a breath or two. The pauses between our poses are just as important as the poses we practice, especially as we transition from Shavasana back up. You press your hands into your mat to lift you up, bringing your head up last. And we're still in our practice, so we want to sit well. Sit the most comfortable way for you. Tall and long. You can close your eyes or soften your gaze. Bring your hands together at heart center in Anjali Mudra. Keep peace in your mind, keep strength in your body, and keep love in your heart. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope you have happy feet. You're welcome to comment below. Email me at therealgofitgirl@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook and Twitter as GoFitGirl and Instagram as TheRealGoFitGirl. If you have questions, comments, suggestions, I'm open to that. If you just need somebody to chat with, it doesn't have to be about yoga. I want to be here for you. That's why I'm providing these videos. And my YouTube videos will always be free. You're welcome to make a donation. You can find information out about that at gofitgirl.com/classes. You can also find out special things I'm doing. I do have a weekly Zoom class that's for pay that you can check out. I have a restorative workshop coming up on June 20th, first day of summer. It's going to be a delicious workshop. And on July 5th, which is a Sunday, I am doing a donation-based live yoga class. So you can donate anywhere from $0 to, if you want to donate $100, and all the money, all the proceeds that I make for that class are going to go to Black Voices Collective, which is part of Black Lives Matter. So if you're interested, again, go to gofitgirl.com/classes. There's details there. You can comment below, send me an email. However you need to connect with me, please do. I'm really excited about this class that I am going to offer on July 5th. So have a great day. Thank you so much for practicing with me, and I hope to practice with you again soon.
Thanks.